Inserted his ID badge in the elevator panel and rode up to his office on the top floor, which he entered at the stroke of 8 a.m., as he did every day. 4 people awaited him at his conference table, drinking his coffee. Hip set his briefcase on the conference table and sat down. "Tell me something I don't know," he said without preamble. The 4 exchanged some glances and shuffled through their papers. Hip watched them with satisfaction, since he knew they knew there was not much he didn't know. "How about a cryptology joke?" asked one of them, removing a sheet of paper from a stack. "Amuse me," Hip said. "Overnight, down at Fort Gordon, one of our computers picked up a 22-second cell phone conversation between someone in Afghanistan and someone in Yemen. The conversation was too brief to pinpoint locations, and much of it was garbled. The funny part is that, in the middle of the conversation, 2 English words were clearly spoken: "the" and "Arrington." "That is terribly amusing," Hip said with a straight face. "It's also very common, since English is a worldwide language and foreigners often use phrases from or fragments of English." "Yes, sir." "Does anyone at Fort Gordon, or for that matter, anyone here, have any thoughts on what the words mean?" "Well," the man said, "I Googled it, and there were essentially 4 hits among a lot of duplication. First, there's some techie businessman named Arrington, who's apparently famous in that world. Second, there's an old Virginia family by that name. Third, there's an Arrington Vineyard. And fourth, there's a new hotel opening in Los Angeles called the Arrington. I like that one best, because it has the in front of it." "Tell me about the hotel," Hip said. "You remember the movie star Vance Calder, who was murdered some years back? The hotel is being built on the grounds of his former home, something like 20 acres, in Bel-Air, a top-scale residential community in L.A. "Home of the Bel-Air Hotel, I believe," Hip replied. "Right," the man said. "The hotel is being named for his widow, née Arrington Carter, who herself was murdered early last year. Curiously, both Mr. and Mrs. Calder were murdered by former lovers." "Any apparent significance there?" Hip asked. "Not really, just a coincidence. The hotel is having a grand opening soon. Apparently it's a hot ticket out there." "If it's a hot ticket in L.A., Hip observed, "there are probably not many invitations circulating in either Afghanistan or Yemen." "That occurred to me, sir." "In what language did the cell phone conversation take place?" "A combination of Urdu and Arabic. Not enough was captured to make any sense of it." "All right," Hip said. "Put the Arrington on the phraseology watch list, and let's see if anything pops up. I don't think a single mention of the name is grounds for any sort of alert at this point." "Yes, sir," the man said, scribbling a note on the message and setting it aside. The meeting went on for another hour, 5 men trying to find some evil intent in the overnight traffic. At 9:30, Hip closed his briefcase and stood up. "I'm due at the White House at 11, he said. "You people finish up somewhere else. I need the office." The 4 men shuffled out, and Hip spent a few minutes going over calls and correspondence with his secretary. Hip arrived at the White House at 10:45 and was admitted to the cabinet room in the West Wing. By 11, there were 8 representatives of other intelligence and security agencies present, and the President of the United States entered the room on time. Everyone stood, and he told them to sit, and the meeting began. An hour and 20 minutes later, the meeting broke, and Hip went down to the White House mess to get some lunch before driving back to Fort Meade. He chose a table by himself, but a moment later the President's Chief of Staff, Tim Coleman, walked up. "Hi, Scott. Mind if I join you?" "Not even a little bit," Hip replied. "How'd your meeting go?" "Like most meetings. Nothing monumental was decided. Sometimes I think all this agency cross-talk has gone too far." "I know how you feel," Coleman said. "That's why I wasn't there." A Filipino waiter came with menus, and they ordered. A discussion of the troubles of Tiger Woods ensued, and the two men agreed that all the man had to do was to win a couple of tournaments and he'd be back on track. They were on coffee when Hip, trying to keep the conversation going, told Coleman about the captain.